Well, hello, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, and my fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Empowered Publicity Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. To be precise, our third trolley stop, that is episode number 3 for the month of May. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager here at Empowered Publicity, joined as always, you remember him for many years as one of the beloved cast members on the long-running PBS children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You remember him as Mr. McFeely, and of course here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, he, of course, we know him, we love him as David Newell, and together we are sharing and we're delivering heartfelt reviews from some of the newest heartfelt children's books from some of our favorite neighbors around the world. David, it's the month of May. Summer's almost officially here. The trolley's going from San Diego to Pittsburgh. How are things with you today?
Things are fine. And we're going to do 2 books in this bookcast, right?
Yes, we are.
We're going to be talking about 2 books. And they are special books, and I guess you'll do the introductions to them, right?
Absolutely. And of course, before we officially christen episode number 3, David, one of the things that I always wanted to know is that in England, when they would christen a new ship before it would take its first voyage, they would always take like a wine bottle or a champagne bottle, and they would kind of smash it over the side of the ship for good luck. So I guess we're kind of doing that here on episode number 3 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. But before we begin, we of course want to be able to make mention of a very special organization in David's hometown in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Of course, the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast is proud to support Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh, which is the Pittsburgh chapter of the national non-for-profit, one of the largest in the United States, that's actually one of the largest children's literacy organizations, I should say, nonprofits in the United States, which provides children's books, developmental resources, and literacy tools for children that come from low-income families all across the country. And in Pittsburgh alone, believe it or not, last year, the wonderful team at Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh provided over 80,000 children's books, delivering them to over 23,000 children in need. Very important organization, a wonderful mission that Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh is doing for the children of Pittsburgh. We encourage you, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. You can click in the description below. We have provided the link on how you can donate if you feel guided to do so to Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. No donation is too large. No donation is too small. David, I think that, I'm really excited about these bookcasts because we not only talk about giving back to children, parents, and families, especially those from low-income families. We also encourage children, parents, and families, and educators to also support your local libraries and your local independent and children's bookstores. Those are really some of the biggest pillars when it comes to children's literature and supporting our little ones, especially right now.
That's right. And libraries especially, I think I told you this story once before, but I'll tell it one more time, that my mother introduced me to the Carnegie libraries in Pittsburgh. Andrew Carnegie provided a lot of libraries, and they still stand. But there was one near our house in the west end of Pittsburgh, and she would take me every week. And I told you my favorite book at that point, I was 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 5. Yes, was Mike, the Tough Little Tugboat. I don't know why I gravitated to that book, but I would take it and take it out and had to take it back, and then I would take it out again. And I loved it. But my point being that my mother introduced me to the library, which was a social outing too, in a way. True. And I think I caught my love of reading by those visits. So that's, even if you don't take a book out, which it's hard not to when you're in a library, but just to take your child to an event at the library. A lot of libraries are becoming not just a library, but social gathering places. They have auditoriums. Sometimes there's reading, sometimes there's puppet shows, craft shows. A library is much more than just books. It's a community center. So look for your local library, and your independent bookstore is very important to keep. Mother's Day, I went to an independent bookstore here in Pittsburgh, and my wife loves to read, and bought her a book.
There we go. Independent and children's bookstores. I had the opportunities when I was visiting a sick teen out in Los Angeles several weeks ago. Him and his family, there's a wonderful independent bookstore, and they've got a wonderful little children's nook. It's called Once Upon a Time, which is, I believe, in the Glendale area of Los Angeles. And I think it's just so important, especially between COVID and the pandemic. A lot of independent bookstores have been hard hit. Libraries were shut down for a long period of time. And especially with things starting to open up right now, it's important to be able to pledge your support. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the monetary fashion if you feel guided to do so, but simply by going to your local library, telling your friends and your family about the wonderful resources that your libraries have, supporting your favorite independent and children's bookstores in your city, or if you happen to be traveling. Those are just some of the great ways that you can give back, and most importantly, support our community and support the children. And of course, as we want to thank you for your continued support of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast and the work that we are doing, David and I, to inspire the love and joy of reading in your little one and the inner child within you, we encourage you to be able to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel, and to be able to share this very special Trolley Stop, episode number 3 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, on your favorite social media platforms of your choosing. And if you missed episode 1 and episode number 2 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, perfect time to be able to catch up on what you missed. So David, the trolley went from San Diego to Pittsburgh, and now we go to the beautiful state of North Carolina. One of our favorite neighbors here at Empowered Publicity, award-winning children's author Joy Resor, has just released her brand new children's book, Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart, Volume 2, which is the sequel to her popular first children's book, fittingly enough, Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart, Volume 1. It's a real beautiful way to be able to learn the alphabet, expand your imagination and creativity if you're an adult, but also especially for your little ones. If you can take us through the book, take us inside the pages, some of the things that really you enjoyed about Designed to Shine.
First of all, I'll show the cover. That's the Volume 2. And again, as you mentioned, it is a wonderful way to learn the alphabet. And, this book could also be a supplement. I was just thinking that if you were reading to your child at evening, whatever book you chose, you can always use this. Now, before we go to bed, let's start with the alphabet. And you can start with A through B, C, whatever you want to do. And each page has a word. Let me see. I'm trying to find the first page has on it amazing. And I just give you a sample of how the book goes. It's in verse. Today is amazing to breathe and to be a day like no other, a day to agree. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way to close the day, I think. And at the same time, each page is a life lesson too. I think amazing. And there is one here that you mentioned that I think it's, well, first of all, I was curious. A and B and C, I was curious to what the subject's going to be for the letter X. And let me find it. And it turns out to be Xerox. Xerox means copy, if you didn't yet know. And how would it feel to Xerox the snow, and so forth? It's a very whimsical book too, and very musical. And I would think, and I remember reading to our kids, and I wish I had this book, because we would finish a book that they wanted to read, and then just to reinforce the alphabet, just to reinforce the life lessons is what this book does. I was going to read you one other, and now let me see. I think it was H. And Here it is. Oh, yes. This reminds me a lot of what we did one time on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. H is hurry, and hurry yourself into slowing way down. Since too much of flurry can give you a frown, and so forth. And that is such good advice. You can talk about, I like to take my time and do things right is a song that Fred Rogers had written.
I remember that.
And that is very similar in theme but that's what the book is like. You can turn to any letter in the alphabet, and you don't really have to start with A. You can start with any letter, and introduce the child to that life lesson. That is a good life lesson, I think. Hurry.
I think that a couple things to be able to share from what we've shared thus far about Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart Volume 2. I always wanted to know at first, and I kind of found this out, around the time when the documentary came out, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Of course, many fans, including myself, of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, when we always watched the beginning of the episodes, there was always the yellow light, the yellow traffic light. So there's red, which means stop, green, which means go, but yellow means slow down. And it was Mr. Rogers' way of just setting the tone, setting the pace, and that we're going to be having a great time together. It was interesting how he really encouraged presence, even though he didn't mention the word presence. That 20+ minute block of time was just being in the present moment, enjoying the experience. So yes, it is true. And Joy encourages all of us to let breathing bring pause. So to just not necessarily be in a hurry, and even if you're in the hustle and bustle and in the flow, to be more in the flow, to enjoy what it is that you're doing, because it's very easy to just get caught up in the busyness of things, so to speak. I do also want to mention, David, when I was taking the time to go through Joy's brand new book, and I came to the letter M. And of course, we're giving little tips of the cap to, your dear friend and one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers. So M in Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart stands for male. And of course, many of us, remember you're the wonderful work that you did on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as really America's favorite mailman for many years, Mr. McFeely. Would you be kind to share the passage of mail with us here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast? Do
you want me to read it?
If you could, yes, I think that would be wonderful.
I'll put my glasses on. I really do need them. Well, mail, let me just show it the picture first. There's the picture.
Yep.
And mail. Okay, this is, I guess, the credo of Mr. McFeely. Does mail in the box addressed just to you give life to your hope of envelopes blue? Can you write one today? Would this add to your bliss? Mail words from your heart, then seal with a kiss. Write a letter to Graham, stamp mail for Aunt Sue, send photos to sister at Camp Bugaloo. Mail coming from you delivers deep care, since so many selfies have made letters rare. Now, I think maybe selfies would have to be explained to a young child, but maybe not. But that is a sample of how long each one of the I guess you could call it a poem in the book. And the next one is Now. The next one is One, and the illustrations are very lively, very colorful.
They are,
and really fit the subject. And as I said before, I think it's you can have it and read it each evening, a selection. That's what I think I would do. I maybe would read it through once with a child, but you can stop anywhere and open the book up at any point and get a life lessons and a lesson in the alphabet too. So it's an all-purpose book. Joy. We had a lot of joy reading this, Joy. Speedy delivery.
It's very interesting too, David, and thank you for sharing from your heart about Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart Volume 2. Joy really, I've had the opportunities to to know Joy for some time. She's a wonderful children's author, and when I first met her and I saw this more over time, she truly embodies joy. There's some people that just have, names, and our name is one of our most important things. And when you have a name like Joy, that's really a special gift in itself. And she loves to bring joy into the hearts and the minds and the souls of whoever she connects with, especially the children. And I think that one of the things also that I wanted to add about Designed to Shine Volume 2 is that there's a lot of wonderful anticipation with this book. There's a lot of adventure and excitement. So after you read and you start off the book and you start off with A, which stands for amazing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. A little one is like, this is great. What's next kind of thing. So you can kind of build up the anticipation. I'm not blessed to be a father just yet. I do envision that at some point in time, as I walk this earthly plane, I will have the blessing of becoming a father. But I can just, envision, parents reading this book to their children around the world, closing their eyes and saying, okay, little one, it's time for sleep. Tomorrow, it's the letter B. So it's like, the child just gets excited, is ready to go to sleep and knows tomorrow that they're going to learn about B, which stands for believe, if I'm not mistaken. Just want to double check. Yes. So A stands for amazing, B stands for believe. And this creates, 25 plus, I forgot how many letters there are in the alphabet. I think it's
26, right?
26. So this provides 26 days of enjoyment. And especially, David, with summer reading season literally on the horizon right now, this is also a perfect book if you want to take the time to go outside. I love the book because it's also hardcover, very durable as well. So, sometimes kids, they just, they can toss around things and it can kind of, go into a laundry hamper or whatnot. So the book is also very durable as well, too.
Yes. And durable for generations too.
Yes.
It'll be in your child's library for years, but it's a supplement. You could use it almost the whole reading. Well, let me see. Our we started to read to them really around 1 year old. You could show them very basic books.
That's true.
And when they start reading, they finally grow out of it. But then comes along a brother or sister, and the same book can be brought out again because the alphabet's always there.
It is.
And so it's the alphabet and it's the life lessons in this book. And you can open it up in the middle of the book too. That's what's good about it. There's no story. Each page is a poem of a life lesson. So there's no ongoing story. So
yeah, each page is a story unto
in itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the description below, by the way, of episode number 3 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast that you are watching right now here on Empowered Publicity, you can purchase your copy of not only Designed to Shine, Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart Volume 2, but if you want to be able to expand your horizons, expand the horizons of your little ones, and enjoy Volume 1, you can see what A through Z brings, the magic and the joy that it brings as well, too. So you can purchase your copies as well. It's one of the many ways that you can support joy in the process. You can leave 5-star reviews for both books on Amazon if that's your preferred online vehicle of choice. Or as David and I like to say here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, if you go to your local independent bookstore or your local children's bookstore or your local library, and if they have the book in stock, you can purchase your book there or, check it out from the library. And if it's not in the library, in your local library, kindly let them know and say, you know what, joy is bringing, a lot of joy into the hearts of children. I would like to have Designed to Shine Volume 1 and Volume 2 be stocked in our local library. Again, there's many different ways that you can support children's authors, and even just encouraging your children's librarian to stock one of your favorite children's authors' books. It's a wonderful way to go about doing that.
That's right. And reading is fundamental. They help in their own way too by taking books to schools. In fact, I've helped them in Pittsburgh over the years deliver books to different schools in the Pittsburgh area. They bought the books and we went into classrooms and delivered the books. In some cases, each child got a different book. Some cases, each child got the same book, but the point being that they got a book. And I think having it brought into their classroom gave it a special a special meaning too, to have it delivered personally to them. So that is what I know one of the events that Reading is Fundamental in Pittsburgh does. They're a wonderful organization. It's great to be able to encourage them.
That's right. And they're providing, again, very necessary resources, opportunities really to develop and nurture, cultivate that lifelong love and joy of reading, really motivation for children, which is much needed as of right now, this particular point in time as well. So Dave, the trolley's racked up a lot of mileage here on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. So we go from San Diego to Pittsburgh to North Carolina, and we go across the pond. See, it's interesting. We talked about England and the christening of the ship, and it's interesting how things come full circle, because our last book that we're going to be sharing on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, episode number 3 here for this month, we go across the pond to one of our neighbors, Emily Thuysbaert, and her brand new children's book, Lady the Ladybug. Now, David, before we start talking about Lady the Ladybug, I also want to mention Pat Thuysbaert, and you might be wondering, well, are they related? Coming off the heels of Mother's Day, we are honored and blessed to be able to share that Pat is Emily's mother, and Emily is Pat's daughter. So this wonderful mother and daughter have united their hearts together for children in the UK, for children all around the world, to be able to share such a heartfelt message, such an inspiring message. And two things to be able to share before we begin is that Emily is dyslexic, and you'll be able to expand a little bit more about what that means and really how this book is able to, share that message a little bit further, and how this book helps dyslexic children. But you're also going to be talking about the importance of never judging a book by its cover. And that's, again, these are two of the fundamental messages that are found within the pages of Lady the Ladybug, David.
There is the cover of Lady the Ladybug. You can see very colorful, and her daughter did that illustration, I would think, right?
Mom did the illustration, yes.
And I have to make some notes on this, because I can't remember the all the things I wanted to say, but
it's a really exciting story. It's a longer story too.
Yes, it is, but it is interesting that I don't know of too many books for children that deal with dyslexia, and correct. That is not only good for the child who may have dyslexia, but for children to appreciate. Okay, I don't know how many children's books do deal with dyslexia, but this one does. Lady and the Ladybug. Well, the Emily, the author, and her mission is to help children dream big dreams and challenge the misconceptions about dyslexia, and that is written in a foreword, I believe, to her book. But the Lady and the Ladybug is very different from the other ladybugs, because she struggles to write and spell, which is a common trait of dyslexia. And in the first few sentences, Emily introduces that Ladybug has dyslexia. It's brought right up in the very beginning of the book. But the Ladybug encourages herself, and this is a very important part of another life lesson of the book, to never give up, never give up. It's a chant that she says, never give up, never give up, never give up. And it reminds me so much. And I looked it up in the online. Those words were often spoken by Winston Churchill. Never give up, never give up, never give up. And I looked up, and it was said that he had dyslexia, but it's never clear. But what he did have, he was so smart that he things became boring if he didn't learn more. But they thought he had dyslexia, but I'm not sure if he did or not. But I wanted to make sure, that I looked it up. But in the book, Ladybug's father has dyslexia, and she inherited from him. So and she always said, it's nice to know that somebody else like me is not alone in her struggles. And she felt that she was close to her father because he had dyslexia, and she wasn't alone with her struggles. He was also a champion of tournaments, which they apparently had in the Ladybug land. And being a creative ladybug, she wanted to enter the competition, but only men were allowed to enter. And but she, using her wits, decided she'd enter, but she disguised herself as Manny. She'll become Manny, the ladybug. And she spent weeks studying different competitors, and she had a strong power of observation. So I guess, and I don't know that much about dyslexia, but I guess you compensate. And she was able to observe about the competition, and it was outsmarting your opponent, and that she was able to do through her observation powers. Oh, but in order to do this, and this is what I thought was an interesting statement, in order to learn more about observation and outsmarting her competitors and so forth, she entered the library. And it says, "Books are not my friend. The words sometimes blur and just don't make sense. But Ladybug needs to make them her friend. They hold the key to all knowledge." So, and here's an important statement. "I just hope there are pictures in the books to help me make the connections to the words that I am speaking." So the library, here we go back to the library. The library helped Ladybug. The words in the books made the connections for it. In turn, she was able to enter the competition, and she won it. Now, the competition, there's a lot of explanation there. I don't think we need to go into it, but there's a lot of, it shows the various competitors that she was up against, and each one, she by her powers of observation, won. So, do you have any questions? Am I making sense so far?
Oh, you are.
Okay.
No, David, go ahead.
I didn't know if I was being clear or not, but at any rate, she entered the competition, and her power of observation, by going to the library, studying the pictures, made her create this wonderful competition uniform, let's say. But at one point during the competition, a herd or a flock of birds, I guess you call it, came swooping down on the ladybug competitions, and the ladybug started her chant: "Never give up, never give up, never give up." And something magical happened, and she explodes into a ladybird, scares the birds away, thus saving all the ladybug population. And the king calls her a genius, and although you tricked us, he said, if it were not for your ability to think outside the box, which I think is important, we were all saved from danger. And she's awarded the Royal Crest. She got all the ladybug dots. That was the award.
Yes.
And for the battle she won. But I think it all sums up with hard work and determination made her dreams come true. In a way, it reminds me of mythology, sort of a Greek mythology, with all the symbolism. But that's an overview. There's a little more descriptions of the competition and so forth. But my point being that I think it was the power of observations and her creativity that enabled her to use the library in a book. Although words were not her friends, but the pictures helped her create the costume that eventually helped her win the competition. Now, I hope that's not too confusing. That's my sort of a speedy summary.
Eloquently shared, David. I think one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, if you can kind of expand upon a little bit, I think that, sometimes as adults, we've talked about this on prior episodes of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. As adults, we have our to-do lists. We have a lot of things we have to do during the course of the day, whether it be, walk the dog, take care of the kids, pick up the kids from school, a lot of things that are kid related, of course. Go to the grocery store, pay the bills, and then very rarely, unless you give yourself that time, do you have time for yourself? And it can be very challenging sometimes. It can be very frustrating at times. And it's important to note, I share this, it's important to note that we all have the inner child that's within us. You've talked about Mike the tough little tugboat so many times. Like your inner child, little David loves Mike the tough little tugboat. I love so many children's books myself, and that's coming from my inner child. As I like to say, I have a little picture here in my office. This is 6-7-year-old me I had much more hair back then, very big hair, a clip-on tie, little sweater vest. So I have that here in my office because it's always important for us as adults to reconnect with our inner child. So at the end part of Emily's book, she talks about hard work and determination. Could you speak just from your experience, not only on the neighborhood, but also just as a parent yourself and just, being a human being as well too, the importance of putting in a good day's worth of work, putting in the determination, because sometimes we want things in our life to happen right now. We kind of have this society where it's like instantaneous gratification. And I think it's important to note that sometimes the greatest things take a little bit of time. And that's really a message for both kids and adults. Could you speak upon that?
Well, in a way, I think that is something you acquire. I think hard work and determination is something you acquire as you go. For instance, I always related to hard work. Television is very hard work, even children's television. It's not easy to come up with. It's demanding. But if you love something you're doing, you never work a day in your life. That is something I've always followed. I once spoke to a graduating class, or several graduating classes, and I decided, what I'm going to say, and it's helped me, and I hope it helps the graduates. When you're looking for a career, or you're preparing yourself for a career and for very hard work, pick something you love, because you'll never work a day in your life. And that is something it's really helped me. Now, not everybody has that. Sometimes you have to work at something you don't like doing. But maybe if I had to do that, and I had to work 8 hours a day at a job I didn't really like, I then would look forward. I would do a good job. I think I owe my employer the good job, and I'd be determined to do a good job. But then I would look forward to after work, reading, being with the family, gardening, doing something that I love doing after my hard day's work. But I was lucky. I was able to work in a job that I love doing, and going to work was never a problem. I look forward to going to work, and that's not everybody can say that. I don't know if that directly answers your question, but I think it helps with the determination. And some people work so they can enjoy the rest of their time. I worked so I can enjoy every hour. I enjoyed working, and I enjoyed not working. So I guess, I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And I think that, it's very important. And this kind of, I think is really inspired by joy. And, both books that we're talking about, that we completed on the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast here for this month. And it's important to enjoy every moment, right?
Yes.
I have it's something that it's a treasured keepsake of mine that I actually purchased from one of the Hallmark stores back in Buffalo before I moved out to San Diego. And it's from The Wizard of Oz. And as you see right here, there is Dorothy and Little Toto and this Tin Man and Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion. And it says, it's not the destination, but the journey that matters most. So here they are at the beginning of the yellow brick road. They see the Emerald City off in the distance, and they're wondering, oh my gosh, it's a long distance. How are we going to get there? And it's important to just remember that every day that you're one step closer to where you want to be. So, for example, let's say, if your child is maybe not necessarily a little one, but let's say that they just start freshman year of high school, right? And let's say that they're so excited to get to college. They're kind of 4 years ahead kind of thing. Enjoy every moment of high school, because college will be there before you know it. And then also the last thing that I wanted to share about this is that, when you take the time to put in a good day's worth of work, no matter what it is that you do, it's also, as Fred would say, Mr. Rogers, it's such a good feeling, because you know that you're helping people. You know that you're giving back. You know that you're making the world a better place by helping other people, whether it be if you're delivering the mail, if you work at a grocery store, you work at the library, if you help someone to promote children's books like I had the blessing of doing. All of these are essential things for our society, which I think is great.
Yes, and I mentioned a little earlier how I years ago helped deliver the books to the children in the Pittsburgh school, the younger grades. And I don't know, some of these were children who were economically deprived, and I don't know if they ever had their own book. They had books they used in school, and it was interesting too. We provided book plates for them so they could write their own name and put it in their book. And speaking to what you were just saying, how satisfying that was for me to be able just to be a part of that delivery. I was in my Mr. McFeely costume, delivering the book to each child. I went desk by desk by desk, and the RIF, they are Reading is Fundamental, provided the books, and I made the deliveries. And it was so satisfying. It wasn't it was not a big thing. It was just a delivery, but it made me feel good to see the child receive that book. And I hope that now this is going back maybe 10, 15 years. And I'd love to be able to take a survey to see how many children are reading in that class. I hope if one child is an avid reader, I've done my
it's all about
done my duty.
It's all about making the difference.
And we do have the additional competition, so to speak, of the internet and things that and you can read on the internet, you can read on iPads and so forth, novels. Correct. And that's good too, but there's nothing like having a book in your hand.
Having a book in hand.
And I think it's important too, reading to your child, to your preschooler, or reading to a child who can already read. That's important, but I think the most important thing you can do as a parent, as a caregiver, as a grandparent, aunt and uncle, is the bond that reading does. The two, your grandson, your granddaughter, and you, that's what they'll remember, the association of that time together, bonded by that book, is so important. The quality time. I'm being facetious, but you could read the telephone book and you're still doing that bonding. That's true. Of course you wouldn't do that, but I'm using it to make a point.
I feel that again, there's just so many different ways that not only that you can help children, but to keep the love of children's literature alive. If you want to be able to read, through Amazon Kindle, on one of your little portable devices, that's one way to go about doing that. But I agree with you. It's really one of the most beautiful experiences to hold a children's book, to read it, to enjoy it, to share it with your little one as well too. David, this has been such a wonderful trolley stop, our third one here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. If you have enjoyed what you have heard and seen and felt throughout the course of our trolley stop here together today, if this message has brought love and joy, fittingly enough, again, joy, inspiration, even healing into your heart or the heart of your little one, we encourage you, if you haven't had the chance to do so, to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel and to be able to share episode number 3 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast on your favorite social media platforms of your choosing. If you haven't had the chance to watch episodes number 1 and 2, there's 6 wonderful new children's books that David and I, between the 2 episodes, had the chance to be able to deliver heartfelt reviews on. So again, that's again just ways that you can support many children's authors in the process. You, of course, can purchase your copies of Lady the Ladybug, as well as Designed to Shine Read Aloud Rhymes for Any Size Heart Volume 2. We have included the links to both books in the description below as well, too. We encourage you to be able to connect with Joy and with Emily on social media. Keep the wonderful conversation going. Let them know personally that they are doing wonderful work for children, parents, families, and educators all across the country and all around the world. If you are a children's author and you would like to have David and I share your brand new children's book here on a forthcoming edition, a future edition of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, if you would like for us to be able to deliver a heartfelt review of your brand new children's book, that is, you can head on over to our official website for Empowered Publicity at empoweredpublicity.com. And of course, you can also connect with us via any of our social media platforms, as you now see on the screen. Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, Twitter at empowered_PR. And if you're interested in more on how we can be of service to you, if you're a children's author and are interested in facilitating a book media tour in a city of your choosing, if you're interested in creating virtual media tour, or you're interested in more of the wonderful work that we do for children's authors, for the children, through our children's book spotlight series, Story Time with Mr. John, and of course, the wonderful children's book review segment that we have the blessing of co-hosting with Laura Kavanaugh each and every Wednesday on the CW San Diego, CBS 8 here in San Diego. You can head on over to empoweredpublicity.com for more details. David, any other parting words for our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors? Because literally we're just a few days away from the start of summer, unofficially with Memorial Day, but any parting words until we reconnect for episode number 4 in June?
Oh, well, let's see. Well, to celebrate the beginning of summer, you may visit your library because I know they have all these events to kick off summer reading programs. So visit your library, an independent bookstore, and I'm just curious if Mike the Tough Little Tugboat is still in print.
I'm going to have, that is my homework, I feel, for me, before we reconvene in the month of June for the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, because at the end of the day, this really is all about the children. So we want to thank you, not just for your support of Empowered Publicity, not just for your support of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, but also for your support again of Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh. Once again, Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh is the Pittsburgh chapter of the oldest and largest non-for-profit children's literacy organization in the United States. Reading is Fundamental Pittsburgh provides children's books, necessary resources, developmental tools for little ones that come from low-income families in the Pittsburgh area. Again, last year alone, Reading is Fundamental provided over 80,000 children's books to over 23,000 children in need. So we encourage all of you, again, our friends, our neighbors, our listeners and viewers, and of course, our fellow shining stars, if you feel guided to do so, to be able to support their wonderful organization, their mission for the children of Pittsburgh. Their donate link is in the description below. Again, no donation is too small, no donation is too large. We want to also thank you for your support of children's bookstores and independent bookstores all across North America. We want to thank you for your support of local libraries as well. And thank you for what it is that you are doing for the children. Whether you are a parent, you're a grandparent, you're a godmother, godfather, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, you're an educator, teacher, principal, librarian, whether you are a custodian or a caregiver of a child, you are doing wonderful work for the next generation of our little ones, because that is indeed who it is all about. So we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. And as we like to say here at the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, as a little tip of the cap to our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, remember that there's 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you, because David, again, is always kind of join us here on these special trolley stops. And as we hear the trolley, which means that, of course, we are wrapping up, it is time to go, but we like to say 2, 4, 3. That means that we love you. So until we reconnect next month in the month of June for episode number 4 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, we want to thank all of you for tuning in, for sharing this wonderful and heartfelt message, and we hope that you have enjoyed this special trolley stop that was episode number 3 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast. Thank you for helping us to walk home the children of Pittsburgh and our little neighbors across the country and around the world. We'll see you next month.
Bye.